Yo, what is going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're taking a look at the farmable Coliseum characters that are out on OPTC Global, and which ones you guys should be looking to be farming up, which are the best, which are the worst, which ones you should waste your time on, and which ones you probably shouldn't. So, before we begin, obviously, huge shout out to OPTC tier list. I will leave their link in the description if you do want to create a tier list of your own. And a huge shout out to OPTC database for the images provided as well. I'll also leave a link to their, what's it called? I'll also leave a link to the website. Oh, whoa, words are hard. We'll leave a link to the website in the description as well if you guys want to check out their. It helps a lot with team building and stuff like that. So, before we begin this is just my personal opinion from what characters that I believe are some of the best ones to farm, some of the worst, and I have sort of created a few tiers here for you guys to sort of like get a rough understanding of what I mean by this. So this tier list is basically just built around usefulness and how like good the unit is and like how many uses you will find for that unit, and if there are units to sort of just do it better. So to be honest, I don't remember exactly what all of these units do, as some of them are pretty old and I don't use a lot of them all the time. But we're going to go through all of the ones that I remember that are being very, very good, and all the ones that have sort of been out in the last 12 months. So, first of all, we have got Alveda. So, Alveda's special is she basically reduces damage by 75%, and she does a 1.5 times orb boost for one turn. So, we're going to put her in there. There's someone always better, because honestly, there's like so many characters that do what she does better. But the thing with her is she's not actually bad. It's just literally that there's so many other characters that literally just do what she does, but better. So next we have Ace. Ace reduces the special charge of one time for free spirit and fighters, and then halves damage. And again, there's always someone better. Like, I wouldn't say he's doo-doo. Like, I definitely wouldn't say he's doo-doo. But I just feel like there's just better characters that literally just do what he does better. So yeah, it is what it is, right? The next unit we have is the Foxy Pirates. And the Foxy Pirates were a bit of a weird one. What do they do? For Foxy, I can't even remember what Foxy does, so I feel like I just want to put him there. Yeah, delays all enemies, does 15 hit, turns a hit. He's doo-doo. He's doo-doo, don't farm him. You don't hit him. The next one is Kinemon. Now, Kinemon I do remember. Kinemon is actually a special charge for free spirits and slashes, and it gives adjacent orbs depending on how much HP you have. So, honestly, I'd put him in nothing. If you've got nothing else to do, like, you could farm him up. But he's not that really essential. He's basically just a better version of this Ace, to be honest. But he does find uses. Obviously, his name's Kinemon, so he helps out Odin and stuff like that. Next, we have Kanjuro, and Kanjuro from memory is a free spirit, orb manipulator, and a striker for unfavorable slots. Yeah, he doo-doo. He's straight up doo-doo. There's so many units that just do that better, and yeah, you just don't need that unit. The next one is Gladius. Now, Gladius is actually very useful. I do remember what Gladius does, as I do use him every now and again. He does Bind and Despair removal by 2 turns, and greatly does the type effects of shooter characters for 1 turn. And he has Barrier Pen, so actually I take it back. He's probably not that useful. He was like good that one time, you know. You remember that one time when you used him? Yeah, that's sort of what he is. He's just useful that one time. So if you've got the time, I'd definitely farm him up. But like at the same time, like if you don't and you miss him, like it's not the end of the world. Next is Kiros. Kiros is a striker and powerhouse. He was actually really, really good when he first came out. He boosts the slot effects, and he did adjacent orbs. Again, I feel like he's very similar to Kinemon. Like, there's units that do what he does better, but, like, because his name's Kiros and stuff like that, there's not really other versions of that character. So, like, if you need that character's name or something like that, he's going to be handy, but like, it's kind of like a nothing-to-do character. Like, if you've got nothing else to do, you may as well farm him, right? So the next one is Dogstorm. This is the V1 Dogstorm that came out. And I don't even think I have this Dogstorm. I think I got rid of this Dogstorm. So, like, what is this Dogstorm even... Why do I not have this Dogstorm? Okay, well, we're gonna have to just quickly head over to the database here. Let's see what this Dogstorm does. How do I not have this Dogstorm? Is this real life? Okay, I guess not. Alright, apologies about this. Just gonna take a little bit extra time going through for Dogstorm. I wish my computer would go quicker. That'd be great. Sorry, it's really hot here in Australia today, and everything is just super fried. My brain is so fried. He's gonna reduce Crew's current HP by 50%, does 50,000 damage. Boosts own attack by 1.75 and amplifies the effect of his own orb boost for 1 turn. Alright, yeah, he's doo-doo. Straight up doo-doo. You're never really going to need that. Honestly, you're losing 50% of your HP, and then he's the only one that's doing stuff. The next one's Cap Viper. Cap Viper was good from memory, like really good. He is a orb manipulator. He threw block orbs. If the enemy is immune to delay and status alignments, he does 50 times his attack that ignores defenses. And then boost the type effects, boost the orbs. Wait. No. Boost striker and powerhouse characters' attack. I don't know why that was so hard to read. Man, this heat has got me fried. Apologies, guys, but thank you for bearing with me. So, he's actually pretty useful. The block orb manipulation and the fact that his name's Cap Viper is very, very good. As there aren't that many Cap Vipers in the game that are extra amazing. So he's going to see some use here and there. 1.75 attacks of powerhouse and strikers is still pretty good. And getting through block orbs is really, really strong as well. So full bottle orbs, if they're immune to delay and stuff like that, is very, very handy. The next character is Lucy. Lucy sort of dropped off quite a lot. Obviously, he came out with Legend Lucy. But he's still pretty useful. He does a 20% HP cut, which ignores defensive effects. And then he changes the top slots to strength, middle to quick, bottom to dex, and then greatly boosts slot effects. So this can still work very, very well on like V3 Kainu teams and stuff like that, where you like need an orb booster, or on a Lucy team still works really, really well or on any team where you can just make those orbs matching. Like it's gonna be worth your time. So Dex Lucy, he's pretty damn good. Like he's alright. He's alright. We like Lucy. Next we have what's his name? No, it's gonna... the King of Momodu can... Oh my god. He's one of the Musketeers. Oh, this hate is frying my brain, man. Not Pedro. Oh my god. I'm gonna call him the Musketeer for now. But I can't remember his name. I've got him right here. What's his name? Shishilian. God damn. Shishilian, he halves the crew's HP, doubles in-character's attack, and then changes slots randomly, including block slots that are matching. So I'm gonna put him in that good. Remember that one time when this Shishilian was good? Like, remember that one time? Nowadays, like, he's not gonna be run on all that many teams. But you can still find uses for the 50% HP cut for stuff like Katakuri teams and whatnot. But there's just other characters that just do what he does that's better, but like there's not a lot of them that aren't free to play. So his name's Shishirian too, so he doesn't have a lot of clashes, which is great. But at the end of the day, he's not the be all or end all. He was good that one time, you know. Alright, the next unit we have is Rhizo. So Rhizo, from memory, did something with shooters. He does 11 times his attack to quick damage to all enemies and changes shooters characters to just give me one. Oh, screw it. Shooter characters recovery and T&D slots to characters' own types. And then he's also, if the captain is shooter, he's a self-blocking conditional. So it was good that one time, you know. If shooters were better, honestly, this guy would be alright. Like, a self-blocking conditional boost is actually pretty good. And honestly, I feel like I want to put him in useful. Because you can still run him on, like, teams like V3 Kainu teams and stuff like that. But thing with, like, that is when you're running on, like, a V3 Kainu team, you're getting the V3 Kainu's conditional, right? So, I mean, I feel like he was good that one time, but he could be more useful if shooters were, like, better. So, we'll put him in that good that one time sort of tier, you know? Next, we have Neo Coliseum Kinemon. Neo Coliseum Kinemon is actually really good. I don't know why the Neo Coliseums are here, but I guess we're just going to have to roll with it. So, the Neo Coliseum Kinemon is actually amazing. So, he's very similar to the regular Kinemon, but just way better. He doesn't have the HP restriction that this Kinemon has. So, he's really, really good on speed farming teams, as he's got a 5-turn cooldown. So, he's really, really good. I would honestly finish him if you can, but I'd probably put him in the useful tier. He's not the be-all and end-all. Like, you don't need him, But I use him quite a lot. His name's Kinemon, as I mentioned, so you can use some intricate supports, as well as triggering stuff like Odin's super typing, which works really, really well. Next, we have Enel. So with Enel, he is absolutely crazy, or Eneru, whatever you want to call him. He's actually insane. This guy is definitely in the finishing. You definitely want to finish this guy. He on his 2-turn cooldown at 13 turns. He does attack down, lock, chain multiply, paralysis by 5 turns. And if the captain is driven, it's going to boost the chain multiply by 0.7. So that's incredibly strong, especially for a free-to-play unit. And if you put him on like a bullet team or something like that, he does so much work for that team that it's like not even funny. A really, really good unit, and definitely deserves to be up here in the finish them tier. The next unit we have is Rayleigh. Rayleigh was actually pretty good, honestly, and he's probably still useful, I would say. He was kind of like good that one time, but like you can still definitely use him on a majority of teams. He reduces HP by 20%, and then he does special bind and bind direction by 3 turns. But then he slightly increases the chances of landing on Dex Sign Int, and then makes free spirit characters Dex Sign Int slots have matching slot effects for 3 turns. This effect was actually really, really good for a forest. So that's why I kind of want to put him in this, like, good that one time, you know, like, I think it was for the Big Mom Forest. You know, like, remember, like, that one time Rayleigh was good for the Big Mom Forest? But he still is pretty useful, as he does have the Sailor ability that reduces Special Bind by 3 turns. So with that, he can actually remove 3 turns of Special Bind on himself, and then he can remove 3 turns of Special Bind on for the rest of your crew. So, next unit we're going to talk about is Burgess. Sorry, I'm trying to fly through these, as there are quite a few units to talk about. Burgess was interesting. He reduces all enemies' HP by 7%, and then he boosts fighter characters' attack by 1.75, equal to the number of enemies in that turn. So if you're versing 6 enemies, you get a 6-turn boost. Now, like, that's okay, but fighters were never, like, really that amazing. So he's just not, like, that essential to do. But, I mean, if you've got nothing else to do and you've got the time, and you like running fighters, like, this is a unit that you could possibly, like, put on a team to sort of carry buffs in, sort of stop, like, interrupts and stuff like that, I guess, works really, really well. So, I mean, I'd never use this unit ever, but, I mean, if you've got nothing to do, he's still okay, to be honest. Like, 1.75, honestly, I feel like I should put him there. No, to be honest, he's nothing to do. Like, no one can do, like, 6 turns of that, so, I mean, that could have a use at some point, but he's still not great. Next is Kid. I love this unit. I'm putting him straight up the top and finish them. For speed farming content, if you don't have like any of those old treasure map units, or haven't done like stuff like the new Zoro treasure map, this guy's going to be one of your go-tos. He reduces special charge by 2 turns for striker and shooters, and if the captain is striker or shooter, he deals 350 times his attack in dex damage to all enemies at the end of turn. So at the end of turn, he just like absolutely stage clears for 2 turns. It makes like farming turtles on turtle like for XP, and all of those like really easy pieces of content with a buggy team, because buggy's a shooter. This guy works exceptionally well with, and he also works really, really well with Legend Jack too. So there's a lot of really good teams you can put him on. He's also really, really good with Chopper. Chopper's a shooter, so he works amazingly with all the quality of life legends, which makes him like exceptionally viable, and you can use him quite a lot. So definitely finish him up whenever he's out in the Coliseum, as he's a very good unit. Moving on to the next unit, we're definitely going to chuck this guy straight at the top. In my opinion, this guy here is the best Coliseum unit in the game. He is an absolute monster. Attack down, despair removal by 5 turns, resilience removal by 5 turns, drastically reduces all enemies' defense for 3 turns, and then greatly boosts cerebral and powerhouse slot effects for 3 turns. That is like, that special ability is like high tier rare recruit. He's so good. And his name's Neptune, so like he doesn't really clash with a lot of other characters. He also has the captain ability that actually gives XP as well. So if you actually don't have like Jack, or you don't have the rare recruit version of Neptune, this guy's actually going to be the next best thing for you guys to farm XP. So I definitely finish him up. While we're actually talking about him, I'm actually just going to chuck this Neptune up there as well. This Neptune is exactly the same as this Neptune, but instead of cerebral powerhouse, he's a striker powerhouse, and he's a dex unit. So these 2 units here are just absolutely phenomenal. That dex one works really well with Kaido, because Kaido's a striker. So definitely farm these 2 up. Oh, they both actually work really well with Kaido, because they both do powerhouse. But this one, especially for like Garp challenges, works really, really well. The next unit we have is Opera. Now, straight up, this Opera is going to go into useful straight away. Mainly because he has an insane support ability, where if you put him on a fighter character and the fighter character does damage, he's going to remove Despair for 2 turns. So straight away, that's useful. To me, that is a very useful character and a very well-designed Coliseum unit, as you are going to get very high use out of his support. Something I forgot to mention actually about the Neptunes, they have a very good support too. On Shirahoshi, they remove attack down or something like that, I'm pretty sure. So they're very, very good too. Opera, he's special though, doesn't do too much. He's a HP cut for 20%, and if 5 or more fighter characters are on the crew, he reduces the extra damage taken, removes sound effects and Despair duration by 7 turns, and then delays all enemies. The big thing there is the removing sound effects for me. I hate that debuff so goddamn much. And honestly, removing the Despair, 7 turns of Despair removal is actually quite decent, but there's like characters that just do that better. But because of his support ability, I'm definitely putting him in useful, and I would definitely at least get his support ability done. The next character is Kumar. Now, this Kumar, well, I remember when he first came out, it was really interesting, but he has some pretty cool mechanics. He does 3 turns of threshold and damage reduction, changes adjacent odds to recovery, and when there are 2 or more enemies present, defeats the target enemy if the current HP is 350 times character's attack or less. And if the character is not defeated, he does 20% HP cut through defensive effects. Now, the big reason you're bringing this guy is not for that last part, that huge mouthful. You're basically bringing him for the threshold and the 3 turns. But his name is Kumar, which is very, very important because he can use a lot of Bonnie supports. They're actually really, really good. But in saying that, he was just kind of like good that one time, you know? Like, he was just, like, you know, like, he was good that one time. Like, but in the same sense, he is still useful for free-to-play unit to remove the threshold and damage reduction by 3 turns. And then you can always chuck like Bonnie on him, a rare recruit Bonnie, if you have her with the 5 turns of bind removal and stuff like that. But I don't know, just there's a lot of characters that do what he does but better. But because he can use like Bonnie and stuff like that, he's just kind of like good that one time. So it's like, you know, that good you could use the Kuma that one time and then use that Bonnie support. It worked that one time, you know. Remember that one time? I remember that one time. Alright, the next unit that we're going to look at is Daifuku. And Daifuku, honestly, I remember this unit to be pretty trash. Because he came out with V2 Jimbei. That whole V2 Jimbei escapade was just a nightmare. 75 times his attack in dex damage on a 13-turn cooldown. Damage to all enemies that ignores defensive effects. That's not terrible. If 4 or more characters on the crew have strength or dex slots, delays all enemies by 2 turns and boosts the chain multiplier by 0.8. If 4 or more characters on the crew have a Sire int slots, greatly boost the type effect of normal attacks. This is just straight up. I'm not even going to read the rest. This is just doo-doo. Like, straight up doo-doo. The fact you have to think about how many, like, slots you have and, like, that is just, it's a nightmare. And even like, when he was good that one time, it was like, no, I'm still not bringing him because, like, why would I ever think of that? Like, just no. Sorry, Daifuku, but you are doo-doo. Alright, the next unit, we're going to talk about is Opera, mainly because I just forgot and I'm blanking on the other guy's name. Not Opera, it's Oven. God, I'm good tonight. Honestly, I'm all over this shop. It's Oven. So, we're going to talk about him in a second, but I just forgot his name. Count Nitori, I think that's his name. So Oven is really, really good, and honestly, like, I would finish him. I don't use Oven nearly as much as I should, but I'm definitely going to give him the respect that he deserves. What he does is he removes all slot chance altering effects on the crew, removes crew's type slots, deals strength damage to 1 enemy based on the number of type slots removed, 0 to 6, changes all slots to character's own type, and if the enemy is immune to delay or poison, he's going to greatly boost strength, dex, and character's slot effects for 1 turn. And then if you land 4 perfects, he's going to then greatly boost them again for 2 more turns after that. So he's very, very good. An excellent Coliseum unit. Again, this is like high tier rare recruit stuff. That's basically what this tier is. And for a strength orb booster, he's really, really good. To be able to carry an orb boost in and have it for 3 turns is just absolutely exceptional. Alright, now, Count Nitori, or Nitori. We can talk about him now because I remembered his name. This guy's actually pretty decent. I don't know if he is like finishing the material, but he's definitely useful. I remember using him in Gacha challenges, and he has some pretty cool effects. He deals 120 times his attack in non-type damage to 1 enemy that ignores all defensive effects, changes empty slots to character's own type, and if character's slot is recovery or TND, adds 45 times his attack in typeless damage for 2 turns. So he does the tap timing effect, and then changes recovery and tandem slots to character's own type, and then if the character's Captain slot is a type slot. It's going to change the top row to recovery and then boost the recovery by 1.5 and reduce damage by 60% for 2 turns. Now, the big reason that this guy is so good is because he has double special activation. So you can actually proc both of those effects in the one turn. But what I prefer to use him as, I actually prefer to use him just for the 60% damage reduction, just to stall and tank. He's very, very good in giving more recovery buff as well, so you can get more from healing. So he is pretty useful, but he's just not in that sort of finish them category where a lot of those other units are. So let's move on to the next unit now, and straight away, I'm going to put this guy straight up and finish them. He rivals Neptune as the best Coliseum unit. And if someone wants to say that he's better than Neptune, honestly, I would not hold that against you, because he is definitely one of the best units, Coliseum units in the game. On a 12-turn cooldown, he poisons all enemies for 300 times his attack, sets all the enemies' defense to 0 for 2 turns, and then reduces all enemies' damage reduction threshold duration by 2 turns, and then has his self-proccing conditional booster against poison or venom for 1.75. So he can be used in many different ways. He's a self-proccing conditional boost. If they can't be poisoned, he can still set the defense to 0, and then you can bring another character to trigger the defensive down conditional. He's really, really good. And as a captain, he's actually pretty viable too. He heals at the end of turn. He's got a Magellan in his name, so there's not a lot of other units that sort of clash with him. So he sees so much play. So I definitely get him done, as he's just one of the best Coliseum units going around. Next is Smoothie. She's a slasher powerhouse that does 100 times her attack and int damage to one enemy, and then makes their slasher and powerhouse characters int, quick, and dex slots have matching slot effects. And if the captain is slasher or powerhouse, greatly boost the type effects of normal attacks for slasher characters for 3 turns. So she's pretty good. She's a 3-turn color affinity booster. She's pretty useful, to be honest, but I don't really use her that often, as you aren't relatively running a lot of straight powerhouse and slasher teams anymore. Slashers and powerhouses sort of have fallen off in terms of they have the best units in the game, but they don't have a dedicated team where you just run those units, you know? So she's really useful. The 3 turns of color affinity is really, really nice, and she has orb sort of manipulation in terms of giving you guys different matching orbs. So I definitely get her done if she's up and you guys are looking for something to farm. But she's more in that nothing to do sort of category in terms of how useful she is, as there are when you're using color affinity boosters, there are just other units that you normally would just use instead, or if they have an interrupt to color affinity, you would just kind of ignore it, you know. Let's put on some better OST for a sec. All right. The next unit we have is Pika. Now, Pika, I'm going to slap Pika in that he was good that one time when. So, you remember when Pika was good that one time? When you had to swap your character out as a captain and Pika became the captain? Well, basically, that's what he does. He deals 300 times his attack. He does 300,000 damage to one enemy and then becomes the captain for 3 turns. When he's the captain, he basically only has... This is his captain ability. He only has a captain ability if he becomes captain in the quest. He reduces damage by 70%, boosts character's attack by 6 times, and then reduces all enemies' HP by 10%. The only reason that you really be using this is if they have a blowaway mechanic on your captain. So you make him your captain, and then they blow him away. But I actually also used him on the Big Mom Forest to sort of tank some shots at the end. And in the Big Mom Forest, you have if you run a fighter or if you run a quick unit, you get some nasty effects from Sanji. So I actually used him to become my captain on a V3 Akainu team, and basically avoided those nasty mechanics. So that's why I kind of put Pico in that good that one time, because I just used him, that one time. But basically I feel that's the perfect spot for him. There's nothing really else more to say about him, but he's good, and I mean, I would definitely farm him up just to sort of have in case that one time does come around again, you know. The next unit we're going to talk about is Katakuri. Katakuri makes powerhouse and striker characters type slots have matching slot effects for 2 turns, and if there are 4 or more enemies present when the special is launched, delays all enemies for 2 turns, ignoring immunity to delay effects. This can be very useful. On paper, this is very, very useful, as basically you can just get a delay through immunity, which is excellent. Very, very good. But he's more that good that one time when, remember that one time when you actually proc that condition against 4 or more enemies? Remember that one time when you versed a boss that had more than 4 enemies? It's very rare that you see that, and I feel he's just he was just kind of good that one time, you know? So, did we put Smoothie here, or did we put Smoothie up here? I feel she was meant to be up here. She's color affinity, I guess. So like color affinity is kind of like if she was like an attack on Obvious, she'd be better. But I feel like if you got nothing to do her, I guess. All right, next unit we're gonna talk about is Brooke. Only thing I remember at Brooke's Coliseum is I remember Brooke's Coliseum being stupidly hard. For a unit that just wasn't overly worth it. 90 times characters attack in non-type damage to all enemies that ignores defensive effects. And if 5 or more slashes on the crew, nullifies damage from int, and reduces all enemies' HP by 15% at the end of 2 turns. Doo-doo. Straight up doo-doo. Like, the only good thing about that is the nullifying damage from int for that 1 turn. And if we're going to say that's good, he's good that one time when, you know? But, like, even still, like, there is always someone better to use than Brooke. So, like, he's definitely there. And if you've got nothing to do, I definitely wouldn't put him there because his Coliseum was stupidly hard. So, doo-doo. Straight up, doo-doo. Alright, next unit we're going to talk about is Maurya. Which Maurya was this? This Maurya, wasn't it? Yeah. So, this Maurya was pretty interesting. I think it's the Neo Coliseum to the original Dex one. He changes character slot including block slot to strength and heals 5 times maximum crew. I put him in There's Always Someone Better. He deals 300,000 damage to one enemy, so like that's kind of cool, but like honestly, like nowadays that's actually pretty doo-doo, so he probably deserves to be in the doo-doo slot. But I mean, 5% of characters max HP could be used, but I mean, there's always going to be someone better. 100% there's always going to be someone better. Next we have Dofi and Treble. These guys are actually pretty decent, and these guys came out around the time of Laffy and stuff like that. They allow you to freely swap slots 2 times, locks the crew slots, which is pretty underrated actually nowadays. Sets the chain multiplier to 2.75, becomes Dofi in trouble for 2 turns, and if we land 4 perfect strikes in this turn, sets the chain multiplier to 3.25, which is really, really strong. So honestly, they're pretty useful, especially if you can't use a chain lock mechanic and you have to carry that into the next stage. That can also be very, very good. And when they switch, changes their character slots to their own type and makes crews strength and dex slots have matching effects for 1 turn. So that's a pretty good switch ability as well. I wouldn't say you have to finish them, as there are units that like do what they do better, but there's always someone that's gonna just do what they do but better, you know. So they're useful, but again, like it's not the be all or end all if you haven't finished them out. Next one is Morley. Morley is definitely going in to finish them. Morley is an absolute monster of a Coliseum unit. Very, very good. He removes Resilience and Threshold by 5 turns. I really like that combo of Resilience and Threshold. He halves all enemies' defense for 1 turn, and if the captain is a free spirit, boosts the damage dealt to affected by defense round by 1.75 for 3 turns. Then if you land 2 perfects, that's it. Only 2 perfects. He's then going to set all enemies' defense to 0 for the next turn. Boys! He's very, very good. And even for stuff for like Dofi 2, he was an absolute monster at taking down the Pika stage. So he is just exceptionally strong. Very, very good, and definitely farm him up next time he's out in the Coliseum. Next we got Jimbei. Jimbei boosts the chain multiplier by 0.5 for 2 turns. Massive reduces a portion of damage dealt that exceeds 3,000 for 2 turns. And if the captain is fighter or stripper, he's going to completely remove Threshold. So because he completely removes Threshold, there's really not many characters that can do that. So we're going to put him in the tier of, he was good that one time. So remember that one time where you had to remove more than 5 to 10 turns of Threshold? Well, that's when Jimbei's good. That's when Jimbei shines. So when you remember that one time, that's when we'll remember to put Jimbei higher on the tier list. Next one we have is Law. Law had one of the most stupidly hard Coliseums, and he's actually, honestly, he's fair decent. So for me, I'm going to chuck him into the useful tier. But basically what he does is he reduces crew's attack down and special blind duration by 4 turns. If the HP is 50% or above, he's going to double the slasher and cerebral character's attack for 1 turn. And if the crew's HP is 30% or below, he's going to heal 70% of the crew's maximum HP. Honestly, I feel like I really want to put him there. He also has the crewmate ability of reducing special blind on himself for 4 turns. So it's so strange that he only does 4 turns of attack down and special blind. I wish it was more, but he's really, really good. That combination of attack down and special blinds. Yeah, honestly, the more that I'm like reading him and talking about him, he definitely deserves to be in the finish them. Doubling slasher and cerebral character's attack for a free-to-play unit. Slashers and cerebrals are both very, very good. All you've got to do is have your HP above 50%, and if it's below that, he's a very, very good healer. So definitely just worthy of finishing them up. Downside to him is his name's Law, actually, to be honest. If his name wasn't Law, he would actually just be so much better. Say it was like Mihawk or something like that. Just be so much better. But in saying that, because he's a law, he can use a lot of very, very good supports too. Alright, next we have Hodi. Hodi Jones is going to reduce one enemy's HP by 20% and then reduce crew's blind, despair, and special blind by 5 turns. And he has the special blind removal himself. He's actually really good and he's very, very useful. I would actually put him in finish them now, mainly because he has the combination of blind and despair, which is excellent. And then he also has special blind too. So he's just very, very useful. Unfortunately, he's only on a 16-turn cooldown as well, a 12-turn cooldown, sorry. So you can pop off his special, and he's a HP cutter. So he's really good. Anyone that can like give you decent utility, and that's basically where most of the very good. If you have a look at this list, like all of these units are really good utility, or have some sort of effect in that way. The next character we have is Oars, Little Oars Jr. Mate. What's going on with you? I don't want to write Oats. I want to write Oars. Oars, it's this Oars, isn't it? Oars is actually pretty decent. He's not great, but he's not bad. 200 times his attack and quick damage to one enemy, reduces attack down by 4 turns, reduces all defense up in threshold for 4 turns, and if there are 6 fighters on the crew, extends the crew's attack boost duration for 1 turn. So he's built around putting on fighter teams, but you can definitely still use him just for the attack down and the defense up and threshold removal. Unfortunately, it's like not the greatest in terms of having just 2 of those defects, but definitely useful. Definitely could see some play, but like I feel like he'd be here in between these 2 tiers here, between useful and good that one time. Like there's always going to be like another unit or another rare recruit that you could use, but in terms of like free to play units, if you're like missing that one rare recruit unit, say you're missing like Bobbins or Uso Hachi, or you're running a team that doesn't involve free spirits and you need a powerhouse or a fighter unit, this guy's going to probably like most likely be your go-to. I used him quite a lot on my free to play teams when I was doing the Dofi 1 and stuff like that. Next we have Koroshiro, and Koroshiro is actually fairly decent. He's a slasher cerebral unit, so two very good classes. He's going to remove all block slots and do non-type damage to all enemies depending on how many block slots you had. And then he changes empty G bomb slots to int, and if HP is full when special is launched, he massive reduces a portion of damage that exceeds 3,000 and boosts the chain multiplier by 0.9. He's going to, if you don't have the HP being full, he's going to reduce damage taken by 80% and boost the chain multiplier by 0.7. So he's actually pretty good. He's actually pretty useful, but he's really only useful for his block orb manipulation and his chain buff. Without that, like, he doesn't see too much else in terms of like what else he does. But I mean, if you got nothing to do, I would farm him up. But yeah, he's okay. Like, he's okay. If you got nothing to do, I'd farm him up. But you're not really going to see too many times where you're actually using him too much. Alright, next we have Shuten Maru. Mr. Shuten Maru is a slasher powerhouse. He does 20,000 damage to one enemy, ignoring all defensive effects. He reduces crew's special blind by 5 turns, and then boosts slasher and powerhouse characters' attack by 1.75. If the captain is a slasher or powerhouse, he's greatly boosting the chance of landing on T&D slots for the next 3 turns, and makes T&D slots have matching effects. Now, this guy's actually amazing for Odin. He's very, very good for Odin because he gives the higher chance of landing on T&D orbs, and he's a attack booster for slasher and powerhouse units, which is really, really good. He also removes special blind on himself, and then he does the 5 turns. So he's kind of like good that one time. So like, you remember that one time that you used him on an Odin team? Yeah, he was really good that one time. But otherwise, like, there's just other units that do what he does but better. But he's still a very good unit, and he can still find a spot on an Odin team if you are missing an attack booster and you need to get around special blind. And then just giving yourself more chance of landing on 1 orbs is just going to help you out so goddamn much. Alright, Sanguro. From memory, Sanguro is a straightaway finish them unit, but let's have a look. He is a free spirit powerhouse, very good classes. He changes dex and int characters type slots to own, heals 30% of the crew's maximum HP, reduces special challenge by 1 turn, and if the captain is free spirit powerhouse or cerebral, boosts the type effects of normal attacks to dex and int, but for 2 times, 1.75 times otherwise. So he's a 2 times color affinity booster, which is excellent. 1.75 times otherwise if you don't have those captain abilities. I found him was really, really good for stuff like Blackbeard teams, as you get the 30% healing capacity. Plus, he has the ability to reduce his own special reverse by 3 turns, and he makes int characters dex slots matching. So he's really, really good for those int teams. For hard content, he's great. I remember running him in Revolutionary Army 2. Shout out to B-Boy. And yeah, he's a really, really good unit. So I definitely farm him up next time he's back, as he is going to be very, very good moving forward. The next unit is Komorosaki. Komorosaki straight away finished them. Komorosaki reduces all enemies' damage reduction and threshold duration by 2 turns. She reduces Chris' bind and attack down by 2 turns, and then heals 20% of Chris' maximum HP. Changes adjacent slots, including block slots, into character's own type. The big thing about this unit is she has double special activation. So she's a 4 turns of attack down, 4 turns of bind, 4 turns of threshold, 4 turns of damage reduction. Or you can use it in a way of, okay, I need 2 turns of attack down and 2 turns of damage reduction on this particular piece of content, so I can just bring her and counter both of those. She's exceptional. She's got great orb manipulation as well. She reduces special reverse on herself by 2 turns, which is exceptionally strong. And she's also boosting Slasher and Cerebral's base HP by 100. So she's a really good unit. I definitely finish her up, purely because she has double special activation, makes her very, very good. The next unit is actually out at the moment on Chaos Coliseum, and I would highly suggest farming this particular character up as well, mainly for the same reason as Shuten Maru, but he's just way better. So this guy was sort of released around the time that Mihawk and Perona was sort of roaming around. Basically what he does is he reduces all enemies' threshold by 5 turns, reduces chain multiplier growth and despair by 5 turns, reduces one enemy's HP by 10%, and then doubles strength and side character's attack for 1 turn. The big reason that this guy is so good at the moment as well is because he triggers Odin's super typing, and he's an attack booster to strength, which you can just deck out on an Odin team being an Odin strength super typing. He has threshold removal for 5 turns, despair removal for 5 turns. He's got chain multiply growth rate reduction as well. He's an excellent unit, and because he's out at the moment, I would definitely be farming him up while he's out. If you got nothing else to use your stamina after you finish off all the Straw Hats and stuff like that, definitely hop over and actually start farming him, as he's actually really, really useful on a lot of really good strength teams. Next, we're going to talk about Kazaru. Kazaru reduces special charge of a chosen character by 2 turns, makes strength and int characters slots have matching slot effects, and then doubles their slots for 1 turn. This guy's actually really good. He reduces special reverse on himself for 3 turns as well, and he reduces strength and int characters special blind duration by 2 turns. He's definitely useful. 100%. He's going to be really, really useful moving forward, especially for you free-to-play players out there, as he's going to work great on stuff like Blackbeard and Katakuri teams, getting the 2 times cooldown, as well as doubling slot effects too, which is really, really strong. Making strength and int is always going to be nice as well, so definitely farm him up. He's going to be very, very good moving forward. Alright, next we have King. King was really, really good, but I feel like I already know where I want to put King. I feel like I want to put him in the good that one time, you know? Basically what King does, he delays all enemies for 2 turns, reduces all enemies' defense up by 5 turns, reduces Scrooge's despair by 5 turns, and if the captain is Dex type, boosts damage dealt to delayed enemies by 1.75. So he's a self-proccing conditional booster, but he has really good utility. So I'm going to chuck him into the useful tier, as if you need like a defense up despair combination for whatever particular piece of content, he's going to be really, really good. If you're running a Dex captain too, you can get that conditional boost, but I feel like, honestly, there's always going to be someone better, because getting off that conditional on a Dex team, Dex being sort of like the worst color in the game, sort of sets him down here. He can be useful, but I mean, probably put him in this actually nothing to do tier. Like, if you got nothing to do, I'd farm him up, because he could be useful moving forward, but like he hasn't even had that one time when like he was actually really, really useful, you know? Well, not for me anyway. Next unit we have is going to be this Kobe. This Kobe, I don't know why he's still here. It's because he's a Neo unit. We're getting rid of him. He's trash. Unless that's the Kobe that does. Let me just quickly check this. Is that the Kobe that Nah, he's just the one that can't be KO'd. No. He's doo-doo. Honestly, I'd put him in doo-doo, but like, what's the point? He's actually like worse than doo-doo. Alright, next is Gukimaru. Gukimaru is the second last Coliseum to come out on OPTC Global. He makes quick and int characters types that have matching effects for 3 turns, reduces paralysis and bind duration by 4 turns, and reduces all enemies' damage reduction by 4 turns as well. So, not a bad unit, but I feel like there's always someone better. Paralysis and bind, that combo isn't exactly like crazy, like, seen at the same time, but like, you could use him, but I feel like there's always going to be someone better to actually get around that particular piece of content, especially with like bind removal, paralysis removal, not just being like the most prevalent combination of units, like, or like debuffs at the same time, I guess, because they're sort of counterintuitive. Like if you're binded and paralysis, it doesn't matter if a character's paralyzed and binded, they're still stuck in the same boat, you know. The next and final unit that we're actually going to talk about. Oh, it's weird. The Chaos Coliseum, we've got a lot of finish them units compared to what everything else is. So that's pretty good to see. The last unit we're going to talk about is Orochi. Orochi was the last unit to come out. He reduces crew's HP by 80%, and then reduces crew's bind and paralysis by 8 turns. Completely removes all enemies' attack up, cranky face, auto healing, and end of turn damage, and then doubles driven, cerebral, and powerhouse characters' attack by 1 turn. Now, he's going to go in the good that one time tier, because remember that one time in Treasure Map you used him, and you had to remove the 8 turns of paralysis? Yeah, he was really good that one time against Treasure Map someone. But he can have some use in terms of doubling driven, cerebral, and powerhouse characters' attack. But again, the bind and paralysis combo is just like, it's not very prevalent. The only reason I put him up so high is because it's 8 turns. It can be quite useful, and utilizing the 80% damage like cut to yourself can actually be really, really good at getting rid of stun. So you can use that in your favor as well. But that's going to wrap this tier list up, guys. I hope you went and got yourself some popcorn and